Ken Trahan with Lenny Vangilder. It's our first NBC weekend review and weekday preview. It's been a very strange week. We hope all are doing fine. And we thank First NBC Bank for their continuing support to your banking at First NBC Bank, 30 locations around the greater New Orleans area. Lenny, it's certainly been a week of distractions. And again, our thoughts and prayers are with all of our dear friends that have suffered through this, in particular in the river parishes and in lower lying areas down toward, of course, the water. When you start talking about bordering the water down in Lafourche Parish all the way down to Braithwaite, Lafitte, Boothville, Venice, everywhere imaginable. We just hope and pray that everyone is fine.
Exactly. I mean, that's where this all starts. Sports is a nice diversion, but the fact is we've dealt with a lot of life's realities here over the last week, and some of the things that have been inconveniences for us, whether it was power, cable, things like that. A lot of people are dealing with a lot worse situations than that right now.
LSU wins, Tulane loses, both expected. LSU against a far lesser opponent, and it was kind of a ho-hum performance. But realistically, when you consider the distractions, you can understand that, and frankly, it was okay.
You think, okay, Baton Rouge is far enough away. Well, this football team didn't practice on Wednesday. That's one of your two big days. Now, granted, it was an opener, and you have a little bit different schedule leading up to it, but to just not practice 3 days before your season opener, that could throw things out of kilter a little bit. But still, the team got off to a good start. And as I mentioned in my story Saturday night on SportsNOLA.com, I think it was a perfect situation for Les Miles. His team won fairly convincingly, but made enough mistakes that he can go coach up a little bit now to correct some things, to get their attention, whether it was the penalties, 2 of which nullified touchdowns, just other, special teams errors, some things across the board. Zach Mettenberger's interception in the red zone, those types of things that you can correct. If they'd have played a close to perfect football game, that might have been 60 points on the board on Saturday night. But instead, 41-14, plenty good enough, and they will move on to play Washington this week.
Yeah, step up in class, and it will require a better performance. Please quit blocking in the back on kicks, please, and move on from there. Back end of the defense, still a question mark. Offensive speed overall, maybe a little bit of a question mark, but we'll see. It's still a very good football team. As for Tulane, not unexpected, lost to Rutgers. Rutgers was simply better up front. Tulane actually played pretty good on defense, Lenny, but the biggest concerns there did manifest themselves. Their offensive line in particular really struggled.
Yeah, and it's, that the situation, it is what it is. It's not like, as Curtis Johnson's brought up, this is not like the NFL where he can go to the waiver wire and go sign somebody this week. You've got to play with the hand you're dealt, and he's going to have to deal with that all year long and try to be creative and do some things quickly for Ryan Griffin and his receivers to get the ball out on a perimeter, make some things happen that way. So, but you have to see how you stack up. And the fact of the matter is, this was a 10-6 game, and Tulane had the ball early in the fourth quarter, and all of a sudden a pick six, and from that point on it was a 2-score game. So, you can't be totally discouraged if you're Tulane by that kind of performance by any means. It can only get better from here. They say you make the most improvement from week 1 to week 2. Well, Tulane's got a tough task. An early Saturday game on the road, Conference USA at Tulsa this week.
Yeah, and then peeking around the state briefly, impressive performances. Look, Louisiana College does a very good job at their level. Dennis Dunn's done a really good job there. And then, of course, ULL continuing their momentum from a year ago. And McNeese State, quite a win.
Yeah, great win for them on Thursday night, going on the road at Middle Tennessee. And look at, has the gap closed a little bit between FBS and FCS. I think there were 4 FCS teams that went on the road this weekend and beat FBS schools, and that is 1AA and 1A for those of you who may still go by those terms. But you had 4. Youngstown State going to Pittsburgh and winning. There were some others out there, and then even some of the have-nots beating the has within the FCS ranks. Most notably Ohio U at Penn State, which to some people probably wasn't a big surprise, but still in all, that gap's closing out there between some of the higher echelon teams and some of the lower echelon teams in college football.
Got some prep games and very few in this area. H.L. Bourgeois beating Clark, Country Day with a big win over Sophie B. Wright in a shootout. St. Augustine, very impressive against McDonough 35. John Curtis with a good win over a very good 5A team in St. Paul's. But most of the teams lost their games, and that's really unfortunate, Lenny, because they work all year just for 10 shots and don't get a chance to play.
Yeah, now they're going to have 9 shots, and for a lot of people this weekend will be the opener. A lot of interesting games on tap this Friday night. A doubleheader in the Dome, including 2 nationally ranked teams, and Curtis meeting up with Plant from Tampa, Florida. And then, of course, the longest standing rivalry in the New Orleans area, Jesuit and Holy Cross, will face off Friday night at Gormley.
On WHNO Channel 20, live, so check that out. Go to the game. If you can't check it out, make sure you do. And, of course, support the doubleheader in the Dome as you get to measure Louisiana against some of the best in the country from Florida. As for the Saints, made their final cuts, made a roster addition or two, and now they're talking about who's going to play this week. And I suspect it will be all hands on deck by and large in terms of starters.
Pretty close. It sounds like Curtis Lofton's going to play, and he's a tough guy. He's gotten himself ready to go to get back out there. And I think you'll see some of these guys that were held out for much of the preseason back out there, the Darren Sproulses of the world and things like that. We'll find out a lot more on Wednesday when they finally have to release an injury report and tell you they practiced fully or partially or not at all, and start giving you status reports at that point. But that will come down the line on Wednesday as we count down to Sunday at noon in the Dome when the bullets fly for real.
And I think Aaron Cromer's more like Sean Payton in terms of revealing information than Joe Vitt is. Vitt wants to really tell you, but he knows he really shouldn't, so he doesn't. I think Cromer's more like Payton. We're not going to find out a whole lot, and that's okay. That's as it is. And last but not least, Adrian Arrington makes the team, tells you about their receiving core. Never saw the field, but he's there.
Yeah, he's there. And, that's... I think a lot of that had to do with injuries. Had Andy Tanner been healthy, I think he might have had a chance to possibly make the team. But obviously the fact that Arrington stuck around for this long tells you they really like what they see in him in spite of the injury situation.
All right. Certainly delayed, but never defrayed. Next week on Monday, SportsNOLA TV will debut finally. No more distractions from Isaac or anything else. 6 p.m. WHNO Channel 20. SportsNOLA TV next Monday night. Tune in then. We know you'll enjoy it. Lenny, as always, a pleasure.
We'll see you Friday.
That's our first NBC Bank weekend review, weekday preview, and we hope you've enjoyed it. Support First NBC Bank. And for Lenny Vangilder, I'm Ken Trahan. God bless. Have a great week.